All right. Jesus Christ. Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by BetUS TV. Man, the Mamu game, huh? Yeah, that guy's grandkids are going to be telling his grandkids about that game. So kudos to him. This was not the worst Knicks loss of the season. Not even sure I would say that this was the one of the 10 worst losses of the Knicks season. It was absolutely the most annoying loss of the Knicks season, and I'm not sure that there is a particularly close second. The Knicks somehow managed to lose that game, not once, not twice, but 3 times, which and to add injury to injury or insult to insult, however you want to butcher that phrase. They have a back-to-back. So if we are sitting there tomorrow and they are in a neck and neck game against the freaking Charlotte Hornets, you're gonna be able to look back at tonight and be like, yep, that's why. They couldn't just go quietly into the night, which, like, if you wanna take some positive off of this, yeah, sure. You want to be like, hey, they came back, they didn't give up, they were down by 28, they got it to 8, and then they went down after coming back and getting it within 8. They went down by, I think it was 17 or 18 points again. I forget what the league got back up to. Might have been 16, 17, 18, something like that. And then they again got it down to 8 points, and we were like, oh wow, this might actually happen. And then obviously it didn't. Never got the lead close at 8 after it got up to be that big. I think there are a few ways to react to this game. I think if your largest takeaway is that you want to throw this one out, because, and I'm not going to go through them yet, but I will go through the shooting numbers in a few moments. But if you want to throw this game out because of how poorly they shot the ball in the first half, and they got down huge, and they obviously, could not bring themselves all the way back, whether it was because of an expenditure of energy or because they just eventually couldn't hit shots in the second half as well. If you want that to be your takeaway, that's fine. I'm fine with that. You want to call this an embarrassing effort. You want to say that in no way, shape, or form should any basketball team that has designs on competing for anything remotely serious, like you just can't go into a San Antonio team that is, I don't know if they're going to win 2 or 3 more games the rest of this season. You want to say that, like, it doesn't matter how bad you shoot. Like, there's zero excuse for going down that big in the second half, even without your best player, which obviously they didn't have, because guess what? Spurs, they didn't have their 2 best players. So I don't really want to hear that excuse. That's fine. I tend to be a little bit more forgiving of games where you're just kind of ice cold. If you want to be less forgiving, that's totally fine, because there are 2 sides of the court, and defensively, the first half, the Knicks, I don't know that I would go quite as far as calling it an embarrassing defensive effort, but it was, if like embarrassing is a 10 out of 10, then they were about like an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. Like, out of the gate, they didn't defend, and there were some other instances. Then they decided to defend a little bit, and then the Spurs started making some shots, and then it got much worse. Like, you can't give up 60 whatever points that they did to that Spurs team. Who's not good. Like, to be very clear, they're a bad team. Even tonight, I don't even think they played particularly well. That's the worst part. The Knicks just like got beaten by a bad team that didn't even play a great game. You could tell me the Spurs maybe hit some more shots. Obviously, this one particular player had an out-of-body experience that, will be remembered by anybody who watched this game for a very, very, very long time. But even with that guy not missing a 3, going 7 for 7 from deep, the Spurs only hit 46% of the threes. Like, that's, the rest of the team didn't shoot particularly well. They shot 50% overall. It is what it is. So if that's your takeaway, that's fine too. If your takeaway is that all of to the extent that they actually existed from anyone serious, and I'm not sure that they did, that any recent takes suggesting that this offense could somehow or is somehow better without Jalen Brunson in any way, shape, form, capacity, whatever you want to say, if your takeaway from this game is that those takes were ridiculous in the moment and they look even more ridiculous now, I think of the three that I just mentioned, that's probably the one that I feel most comfortable with, because I think I'm like, I kind of want to throw this game out. I kind of want to get on them for an embarrassing effort. I definitely want to dispense with all of those conversations. And to go back to point one, to anybody who wants to be like, well, yeah, but like you just said, they were just missing shots. Like, yeah, they were missing shots, but they had no way against a bad defensive team to generate easy offense. They just didn't. Like, we'll talk about the run that they made in the third quarter. They went on a 22-3 run. That was their defense spurring their offense. And a lot of those baskets came either in, whether it was transition or semi-transition, where, again, it was early offense. And, yeah, a couple of guys just absolutely hit shots. But, like, outside of Karl-Anthony Towns going out and in the early portion of the game dominating the Jeremy Sohan matchup, there was no efficient offense to come by. Now, you could tell me, all right, yeah, but like they had good looks from three and they just missed those looks from three. I mean, the Knicks tonight ended up shooting, what they shoot from three, 11 of 37 from deep. So it actually wasn't even that bad at the end of the day, although we'll get into some of the nitty gritty. Like it still was pretty glaring to me how, like, again, other than Towns kind of going to work, there was just nowhere to turn. And we will talk about some of the, particular culprits for that part of the conversation, which I guess is where, well, I guess we could get there right now, because look, you go down 28 points. That's not on any one player. It's not even on any two players or any three players, but like we can, there has been a lot of conversation, including between me and Fred, when Fred and me were just talking on the most recent pod about, if I woke up or if I went into a coma and I woke up and it was Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals and the Knicks had played Boston toe to toe, what would I have guessed, helped get them there? And one of the things I said was that I think that maybe Mikal Bridges would have tapped into a little bit of what we've seen recently, even with Jalen Brunson back. And I think that has been a popular sentiment, along with, like, hey, even when Brunson comes back, we gotta run some of the offense through Mikal Bridges. Like, this guy, he's really good. Well, it works well sometimes against some defensive coverages, particularly a drop. And shout out to Benji. He was pointing that out on our text thread earlier tonight. He is not nearly consistent enough to say, all right, you got to be one of our go-to guys. And I thought on a night where Cat really needed someone else to step up in a significant way, and like his team needed someone to step up in a significant way, I thought he came up pretty small. And I, again, feel a little bad singling him out, because, again, I really don't think anybody should be singled out in this game. But at the same time, if I didn't call it like I thought, I wouldn't be doing my job. And I saw a guy that really came up small and came up kind of soft. And so if we're going to give Mikal Bridges all the praise for when he plays well, you gotta take the brunt of it when you don't. And I think, again, Mikal Bridges has been going through it this season. But tonight was not good enough. Let's just leave it at that. Other things to take away from. Oh, and Josh Hart, I should mention too. Josh Hart, a guy that I love to praise. I'm, again, president of the Josh Hart fan club. We love Josh Hart here at Knicks Film School. Josh Hart was atrocious tonight. Atrocious. No two ways about it. Bridges at least hit some shots, took some shots, hit some shots, 5 of 13. Josh Hart played 35 minutes, made 1 field goal, only attempted 4, scored 2 points. He was a team worst minus 26 in this game. That is not a misnomer. I thought Josh Hart actively hurt his team. He was passive. He did not like the usual Josh Hart plays, all the plays that he was making in the second half against Miami. We really didn't see any of those. Like, there were a couple of offensive rebounds that the Spurs got where Josh Hart was right there. We never see that. So, was he more intense in the second half? Sure, he was more intense. They called it out like during the Knicks' big run. He was involved in that. I still thought it was an atrocious performance from Josh Hart. So, like, those are two of your big guns, and they didn't show up. And you know what? If you're gonna call a spade, let's go on to Deuce McBride too, because there's been a lot of calls for whether campaign to start or Payne to start. Maybe Deuce still plays a ton of minutes, but Kolek or like one of Kolek or Payne be in the game at all times. A lot of that comes from, okay, this guy can't consistently run the offense. Now, I think he's made some strides. I think there are moments where it looks pretty good. Tonight was a step back. And he is a player, and shout out to Benji again, because in his grade book, I thought he did an exceptional job explaining with clips and just detail about how McBride had the classic "you don't have to shoot well to play well" game against the Miami Heat in their last outing. There are times where when the Knicks offense is kind of in the mud, and it was in the mud for much of this night against the Spurs, Deuce McBride just has to make shots. And tonight he did not do enough on the other end of the floor to make up for the fact that he didn't make shots. So I just named 3 of the 5 starters. OG Anunoby, I thought at least, again, it was a rough shooting night for him as well. He really rough around the basket on some of those early drives. I did think his defense in the second half was like, it was the thing really as much as anything that turned the game around. Because again, he could be a game wrecker. But listen, it wasn't just the starters. Other than Mitchell Robinson, who I thought made some real strides in this game, his first double-double since coming back from injury, 5 offensive rebounds in 17 minutes, a couple of blocks, a steal. He was a plus number in this game in 17 minutes. Really good performance from Mitch, but like campaign, Landry Shamet. How about Landry Shamet too? While we're calling guys out, let's call out Landry Shamet. Your job off the bench, you want to talk about, guys who need to shoot well to play well. He is as much as anyone else on this team, more so than anyone on this team. He is absolutely you got to shoot well to play well. He is perhaps the only you got to shoot well to play well guy on this Knicks team. Anyway, he had 5 looks from 3. He missed all of them. Like, you can't do that if you're Landry Shamet. That's the sort of game that like makes people be like, yeah, this guy should not be in an NBA rotation. And there were some moments where like a 3 from him would have come up big. I could think of one in particular off the top of my head, and he wasn't close. So, really poor performances up and down the roster. I said I was going to get to the ugly numbers, and I'm going to do that right now. So the Knicks, I'm preparing myself. The Knicks during that little spurt, and I made sure to go up and look this specifically, when they went on a 22-3 run that was really spurred by their defense. They were 9 for 12 from the field over those 5. It was 5 minutes and 42 seconds. They were 9 for 12 from the field. For the remainder of this basketball game, if you take out, doing some quick math on the fly, which Alex, I know you love my attempts to do this. If you take out Karl-Anthony Towns, now Towns was 2 for 3 during that stretch. If you take out all of the other Towns field goals, if you take out Mitch going 5 for 6, and I'm going to take out Precious too. Precious stunk, obviously, tonight. He played 7 minutes, and it was 7 minutes too many. I think everybody's about ready to be done with the Precious Achiuwa experience. I would imagine Tibbs is probably ready to be done with the Precious Achiuwa experience because he doesn't play him in second halves. Again, this is all about just trying to buy minutes. It's usually doesn't work. So take out his 2 for 3. So we're going to take all that out, and then we're going to take out that 9 for 12 spurt. So for the other 42 minutes and 18 seconds of this game, I hope my math here. So we're taking out 18. This is a scintillating podcasting, I know. 23, 25 for 39. Okay. So if we take away, again, the Cat field goals, the Mitch field goals, the Precious field goals, and the 9 for 12 stretch during that 5 minutes, for the rest of this game, the Knicks as a team, beside those 3 guys and besides that stretch, shot 14 for 53 from the field. 14 for 53. That is, generally speaking, not going to cut it. What does that work out to? 26% from the field. Yeah. So maybe we should just toss this game out because, I mean, you want to talk about atrocious numbers? You're not going to get much more atrocious than that. I'm here to talk about anything else you want. I'm here to hear any complaints about anything you want. You want to yell and scream about Tibbs tonight for playing Precious those 7 minutes with Josh Hart. I think was either Josh Hart or Mitchell Robinson, but all of the Precious minutes were with another non-shooter, which is just like makes it even more painful. You want to do that. You want to, you want to get on them for. Oh, I mean, if you want to get on Cat for being incapable of properly guarding a pick and pop, especially with a guy who was having the night of his life, I have a little trouble getting on the guy who, on a night where the team as a whole put up the offensive numbers that I just stated, finished the game with 32 points on 21 shots. But if you want to get on Cat for that, and you wanted to say, the Knicks were this close to making a real comeback, and those it was really 3 possessions. It was the 2 Mamu, I keep calling Mamu threes, followed by that dish to Sohan, although the dish to Sohan, Mitch has to own that a little bit as well because he lost Sohan there. You want to get on him there, that's fine. Yeah, any and all complaints are going to be welcome tonight. If people are annoyed, if people are angry, if people are despondent, I think it's all fair game. I would just my usual public service announcement before I get into the carnage. It's one game, it's one loss. The numbers were the numbers. Rare. You can watch 82 games in a season and you won't see 3 where a team shoots this badly for as long as the Knicks. I mean, I tweeted it out in the first quarter. I'll say it now. The first non-Knick big man to make a shot in this game was Cam Payne. Hit a 3 to make it 35-31. It was 9.5 minutes left in the second quarter. So this team went 14 minutes and change without a single perimeter player making a field goal. And it wasn't because of the Spurs defense, let me tell you. It was a combination of ineptitude, poor execution, and just flat out missing. So, look, let's hope they don't compound it with a loss tomorrow in Charlotte. Because you want to try to keep the morale up without Jalen Brunson, but they fall to 3-3 without JB. No, sorry, that's not true. They fall to 3-3 without JB because they were 2-2 and then they beat Miami and now they lost this game. So all things considered, that's not bad. But tonight was not a fun night if you're a Knicks fan.